Did you know that less than 37% of Americans have a passport? And in that 37%, only about 11% of them travel overseas. That means the vast majority of Americans will never experience what it's like to visit a foreign country. Don't get me wrong, America has a lot to offer. From the major cities like New York, Chicago, LA, Vegas, Miami, I can go on and on. To the beautiful desert and cities like Las Vegas that I think everybody should visit at least once in a lifetime. To Miami. I mean, guys, Miami, it's an amazing place. You know, you have the nightlife, you have the great beach. I think a lot of people overseas are actually dreaming about visiting Miami. So the US has a tremendous amount to offer and is blessed with an extremely diverse landscape. So that's understandable. Some people feel like, well, I don't need to go over there, I have everything here. But that's not exactly true. You have a tremendous amount of beautiful sights, amazing cultures, and different people with different mindset, different way of doing things. So if you're curious about what it's like to travel overseas, this video will help you avoid some of the pitfalls that you can make when you're a rookie traveler. So if it's you watching me and thinking, man, I want to go overseas, where do I even start? This video is for you. Join me. So I get a call the other day from a friend of mine. He hits me up and he said, hey, Ivan, is my phone gonna work when I get to Kenya? What do I need to do? And I was thinking, man, it is true, a lot of people out there have no idea. That's what actually prompted this video. And I think being American, having an American passport, is truly a blessing. And I want to encourage many people to travel. So I wanted to kind of take some of my experience in a way to help you guys. A lot of people who don't travel may assume that all you have to do is show up at the airport with a plane ticket and get on the plane and go. They don't realize that, well, as strong as the American passport is, you must get a visa for many countries around the world. I have a buddy of mine who was actually going to Vietnam not long ago. He booked a flight, he gets to the airport, only to realize that he can't board because he does not have a visa. He assumed that he could just go, you know? So that's the first thing. As strong as the American passport is, don't forget to check the visa requirements for that country. Actually, let's go over the list a little bit. This information is from the Hanley Passport Index. Let's go over some of the most powerful passports real quick, just so you have an idea. So guys, the strength of a passport is measured by how many countries you can go to without getting a visa, all right? So I'm gonna go over some real quick. So the strongest passport in the world as of 2025 is Singapore, okay? Followed by Japan, all right? And number 2. Now, on the 3 position, you have Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, Ireland, Italy, and Spain. They're all tied for 3rd place. And then on the 4th place, you have these countries: Austria, Belgium, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Norway, Portugal, Sweden. Followed by these countries in number 5, New Zealand, Switzerland, Australia, United Kingdom, Canada, Czech Republic, Hungary, Malta, and Poland. Then you get to number 8. That's where you have the United Arab Emirates, all right? Number 9, you have Croatia, Latvia, Slovakia, Slovenia, and the United States are all on number 9, with roughly about 183 countries that they can visit without a visa. That is a huge amount, but it's not the whole world. So check the visa requirements. It changes all the time as well. You have England that recently put a new requirement for US passport holders. It is not like a visa, but it might as well be. It's the same thing. You go online, you fill out documents, and you make a payment. If you're interested in getting your authorization to enter the United Kingdom, as of 2025, the link will be provided below. And in a few months, the Schengen zone is going to have somewhat of a similar requirement. So if you're an American with a US passport, you must have these things taken care of in advance before you go and visit these countries. So make sure you jump on that. Don't be surprised if you're trying to board a flight to France and for some reason you cannot board your flight. So check these requirements. So many times it's important to remember when we talk about these visas that it might be a little bit annoying to go through the procedure, but as an American, you know 9 times out of 10, unless you have some kind of legal issue, you are going to get the visa. Some countries just practice what we call reciprocity. So if you require my citizens to get a visa to come to your country, I'm also going to require your citizens to get a visa when they come to my country. But the difference is people from other countries, in particularly African countries, many times when they want to travel somewhere else, they get denied, you know what I mean? And it has nothing to do with money. You just get denied. There are various reasons behind that we're not going to get into this video. You just get denied and you're not always told the reason why. And it's not about money. You know, you pay the fee, you fill out the paperwork, you do everything you're supposed to do, and you still get denied. As an American, you don't have to worry about that. You just have to fill out the paperwork, pay the fee, and like I said, 9 times out of 10, you are going to get that visa approved. So you want to travel, nothing should stop you. You should definitely go ahead and go through the process and then wait and see what happens. And that leads me to another point. As you are checking these visa requirements, it might seem simple, but not exactly. There are a tremendous amount of scams out there when it comes to these visas. So I know people who've applied, and I've actually been a victim of that myself, where I've applied for a visa while I was trying to go to a country, and the website I used was the secondary site that ended up charging me more money than the country itself. So these are secondary vendors who take your information, sometimes don't provide anything, or they just scam you. So how to avoid this? Go on the embassy website. So if you live in the DC area, for example, look at the embassy website for that country, and then go on the consular services, check out visa requirements, and you will see for every country what you need to do in order to fill out your visa requirement. But in a nutshell, it's generally the same thing. You're gonna need passport photos. Some countries require the proof of funds. You have to literally send them a copy of your finances. Brazil tried to put a visa requirement on Americans. You have to actually prove that you have enough money to sustain yourself when you're in Brazil. Luckily, they scratched that. Let's see for how long. Also, Kingdom of Bahrain also is one of those countries that requires that you prove that you have enough money in order to get granted a visa to enter the kingdom. So don't get scammed by these secondary websites that will take your money and many times overcharge you or not even provide the visa at all. Go through the country itself. So these are ways for you to avoid being scammed online. I don't want you guys to lose some money and come and blame your boy. Ivan, you told me it's great to travel. And here I am, I get scammed. Do not get scammed, guys. Do not get scammed. So besides that, what's also generally required would be your hotel's booking. So you have websites like booking.com that allows you to make booking reservations, sometimes without making payment. So you can pay when you get to the property. It's generally cheaper though if you make the payment in advance, but if you're not 100% sure and you're just filling out the paperwork for a visa requirement, you can choose an option where you don't have to pay right away. Now be mindful, some countries will actually check that your reservation is legit. So make sure you do make a real reservation when you go ahead and apply for that visa. They also are going to require flights reservation. That's the main thing that they want to see. When are you planning to go there? And when are you planning to get out of the country? So in a nutshell, that's the main items that most countries will require for you to provide. So that being said, let me also emphasize that I recommend that you get your yellow card vaccination. Yes, to go to Europe and most Latin countries, you don't need that, but when you start exploring like Asia, many parts of Africa, and even Brazil, there might be other countries out there that I'm forgetting, try to get your yellow fever vaccination. The reality is, a lot of countries don't require it, but you never know. I actually had a situation where a friend of mine was trying to get out of Brazil, and you're not required to have a yellow fever shot to enter the country. But in order to get out of the country, that airline, it was Copa Air, they required to see the yellow vaccination card. You know, it's for the yellow fever, and he didn't have it. So what happened in that situation, they actually kept him in the country. They told him he couldn't leave until he gets the vaccination. But that's not all. Once he got the vaccination, you still have to wait several days before you can actually fly. So if you get the shot today, I think it might be like maybe a week or something before you can actually travel. So if you're gonna be getting into world traveling, it's not a bad idea to get your yellow fever shot. And you carry it with your passport basically everywhere you go. is going to prevent you from having some very weird things happening. So if you're going to be traveling, get your yellow fever shot, keep it with your passport. Personally, I take it with me everywhere. It doesn't matter what country I'm in. The requirements change often. It's just better to get your yellow fever, keep your vaccination card with you, and travel with it everywhere you go. But the good thing with the yellow fever is before, when you got your shot, you had about 10 years before you had to renew the vaccination. And now the rules have changed as of a few years back. If you get your yellow fever shot today, you are good for a lifetime. So you don't have to get a shot again. But if you're going to be going to some tropical countries, I highly, highly recommend that you get your shot, keep the card with you anywhere you travel. Another great site, passportindex.com. This website will show you all the countries that you can visit visa-free. It's color-coded, and if the country requires a visa, it has a link right there. Another thing, you cannot use dollars everywhere. Some countries you can, some countries you can't. There's a tremendous amount of information on the internet. You can watch other YouTube videos about, vlogs. That's why YouTubers, man, it's community service we're providing by providing guys information about places that we visit. So make sure you check YouTube, make sure you check your friends, and make sure that you know exactly what you need to deal with. Credit cards, sometimes they are accepted, sometimes they're not. It depends on the country you go to. But it's not a bad idea to have cash available for you. Those dollars, you can exchange them at the airport many times. Although generally speaking, the airport exchange rates will be higher than what you will find in the city. So if you're bringing some dollars, my advice to you, bring the brand new $100 bills. For some reason, many countries seem to exchange them at a higher rate than they do if you bring the old $100 bill. Don't ask me why, I don't know. That's just the way it is. Personally, when I get to a country, I generally hit the ATM. It is not always the best method. The reason I do that is because my bank reimburses me for the ATM fees, so I don't lose money by doing so. When you use a foreign ATM machine, it's generally gonna ask you, are you trying to withdraw this money with the conversion that they provide to you or not? Never accept the conversion. Always say no. That gives your American bank the option to decide the value of that dollar. Versus these ATM vendors that in many occasions will end up overcharging you on purpose. So never accept the conversion. Another way that some people use is they actually Western Union money to themselves. So if you know you're going to be in this country, or if you're married, you can Western Union your wife or yourself or a friend, if you trust him, that he's not going to run with your money. You can use Western Union and cash the money, but check the rates, the exchange rates is very, very important. Now, when it comes to getting familiar with the money, guys, it might seem a little bit stressful, but XE app is a great app. You can go on there and you can see the conversion, double check and triple check those currencies so you know exactly what you're dealing with. Don't assume that the financial transactions we have here are the best. And don't underestimate other countries, man. Because you got, for example, M-Pesa in Kenya, which is an amazing money transfer service. With M-Pesa, you don't even need a bank account, guys. They can send each other's money with just a phone number. Most Kenyans use M-Pesa, and it's better than Zelle that we have here because Zelle, you need to have a bank account. And some banks accept Zelle, some banks don't. Cash App, you need to have a bank account to take and withdraw that money. It is better than all of that. This M-Pesa service has revolutionized the transaction services in Kenya. So money transfer is actually easier in Kenya than it is here in the United States. Because whether you have a bank account or not, doesn't matter. Whether your phone is a smartphone or not, you can actually use one of those old flip-up phones. As long as they have your phone number, they can M-Pesa the money, man. That is amazing. When it comes to hotels, I generally use booking.com, but also Airbnb. It's a great website, not only for you to book a place to stay, but also to book tours. People don't realize there's an experience section on Airbnb where you can actually book different tours and meet amazing people. I've used that, several times. I should also mention the fact that when it comes to lodging, the downtown area is not always the best place to stay. I know it's tempting, to think, oh, well, I'm gonna be downtown, so I'm gonna be close to everything. It really depends on the country you go to. For example, in Kenya, the downtown area is exactly where you don't want to stay. It is the busiest, probably I think one of the most dangerous part in the country where you have like the phone snatchers and things like that. So it's always good to double check and make sure that your location is the best. So for example, on booking.com, you can actually pick by the best location, and you will see, based on the locations that are listed there, the one area where most people stay. That's one good way to figure it out. You can also do a quick research online, or these days you have ChatGPT. I'm sure it probably can provide some answers to you guys as far as where to stay. So just be mindful, downtown is not always the best area to stay. Now, let me say this. I have an iPhone, and the biggest problem I have with the American iPhone is that it does not have space for a physical SIM anymore. And I've gone to several countries where it was a problem. You know, you cannot always use eSIM. Not every country has that. And I really dislike the fact that Apple does not give consumers in the US a choice as far as if they want space for a physical SIM or not. You know, it's great, eSIM, but not every country has that option. So it puts you in a really bad situation. So sometimes it's not a bad idea, not just because you want to be able to communicate, but it can also be an issue for your safety. You know, an iPhone is a very expensive device, and Samsung, all those things, and it can easily be recognized. So depending on the country you go to, you want to be careful that you don't always walk around. Some countries you cannot just be like this and walk around the street and, you know, and think, you know, it's cool because no. Some countries you cannot walk around with your phone. You know, I hate to pick on Colombia, but that's the case there. If you walk around in the wrong part of town, it's not unheard of for you to get your phone snatched. So be very careful. So it's not a bad idea to have a traveling phone. A traveling phone will save your life, man, because you don't want to lose your device when you're in a foreign country. Imagine being out there and then you cannot talk to your friends. You don't even remember where your hotel is. It happened to me in Dubai. When I got there, my phone crashed on me and I had all my information. I had no idea where I was. It was terrible, you know. Anyways, make sure you have either a secondary phone, you keep your phone safe, and also double check if the country you're going to has an eSIM or not. And that's for iPhone users in the United States who have never gone outside the country. The other point that I'm gonna mention is the cultural shock. Man, the cultural shock is real. Not every country operates on American time, right? So pack your patience. When you make a little suitcase, make sure you pack your patience with you, because you're gonna get to a country where people may not even understand you. You will get to a country where they take a long time with their bill. They're not being rude, just be patient. You know what I'm saying? And don't be mad at people for not speaking English. Remember, you are the one who's a foreigner in another country. You know what I'm saying? So learn at least the basics. It will make the locals feel very good. So you go to a French-speaking country, you need to learn basic things like bonjour, merci. Spanish country, buenas or buenos dias and muchas gracias. You go to, you know, Brazil, Portugal, obrigado. You go, you know, stuff like that. You know what I mean? Just basic skill, you know, that will help the locals know at least, hey, this guy is trying. Don't be in somebody's country and mad at them for not speaking your language. It happens all the time. You know, and I hate to say this, it's generally Americans that get upset like this. Some countries don't learn English. They don't learn it in school. So if you happen to be there, just make an effort. Generally, people will make as much of an effort as they can to accommodate you, but you should also make an effort. It will make your stay so much better and make people feel warm. I usually use that when I'm about to cross customs, because that's when they open your passport and they're like, hey, who's this guy? You know, you pop up in there, you say, buenas. They're like, yo, you know, this guy is trying. Even if they continue with Spanish and I'm like, okay, no mas, I can't speak anymore. At least they know you tried, you know what I'm saying? So definitely familiarize yourself with that. And learn customs in other countries. For example, if you go to Japan, they don't like tattoos. So if you are tatted up, like my friend Backpack Mo, shout out to Mo, you need to wear a long sleeve shirt, you know, so that they don't see your tattoos. Because then you're gonna get rejected at the door and get upset, you know? But that's not the case. Or say, oh, it's because I'm black, I'm being treated like this. No, sometimes you just broke their rules. It's not always a race thing. So don't be quick to pick on race. Don't be quick to say, oh, it's because you're American, then this and that. Many times it's not the case. Most of the time, guys, I have a great time when I travel. You know, to be honest, people are so kind, people are so welcoming. You need to be careful, but This sense of fear that I feel from a lot of my friends here who don't travel is exaggerated. It's overblown. You know, you go somewhere, they live in Baltimore where there's literally like shootings every day. And when you get on the plane to go somewhere, they say, man, be careful, man. Be careful out there, bruh. I'm like, hey, I appreciate that. But you also should be careful. You probably should be more careful than me because most countries don't have the level of crime that we have here. You know what I'm saying? You have to be careful everywhere, and bad things can happen everywhere. So when it comes to safety, you know, it's important to not be flashy. Actually, in Colombia, they have this expression, which is no da papaya. It basically means don't make yourself flashy. You know, expensive jewelry, expensive clothes, expensive shoes, you know? These are the things that at times can make you a target. So be mindful where you're going, and remember, just your cell phone alone can be worth somebody's salary for several months or even a year, depending on the country you're in. Being a poor country does not mean the country is necessarily dangerous. There are many countries that are, you know, not necessarily rich, but people don't have that culture of stealing. But there are other places where certain things happen. Again, there are some countries that people don't make a lot of money, but culturally they just don't have certain issues. In other countries, even using a site like Tinder can put you at risk. You know, you have locations like that where it's not unheard of that people get drugged by abandoning their drinks behind. You should never leave your drink behind anyway, but there are places where things like that just don't happen, and others do. Traveling can be dangerous, so you have to be on your P's and Q's. Let me mention this, I don't think I have already. When it comes to phones, guys, some services provide data plans and others don't, right? For example, Verizon, for the last, I think 5 trips I've taken, every country I've gone to, Verizon has given me, included in my plan, X amount of data included right there. You know, I don't have to pay extra for it, you know? It's part of my plan as long as I don't go over the data that is included. So this is one trick that I think most of you guys who travel already know, but if you're still watching, that means you're really trying to go somewhere. Let me tell you this. Go on your cellular phone, go on the settings, and shut down all your apps that you're not gonna use. Instagram, Facebook, all these news outlets, all this stuff, it eats up so much data. Turn them off. So when you're on the street, you don't have to worry about your phone data just going down for no reason. Most places overseas where you talk about restaurants, hotels, places like that, they already have Wi-Fi. So you don't have to be running your own personal data all the time. Either put yourself on airplane mode or turn off all your apps, but definitely turn off your apps. It's gonna save your data. Even if you have that foreign SIM, it's a good thing. And then you can catch up with everything else when you get back to your hotel and stuff like that. And just be careful getting on just random Wi-Fi and logging into your emails. I've gotten hacked. Someone got into my Western Union and was transferring money out of my account. You know what I'm saying? This happened very recently. They were transferring money out of my account. You know what I mean? And it was one of the countries that I visited recently. I was lucky because I was not sleeping, because this person was already transferring money over and over and over. I was able to change my password, quickly disconnect my bank account from my Western Union app and shut all that stuff, and then request a refund from all of that. Luckily, Western Union moved fast enough and they were able to reverse these transactions, and it took about 3 or 4 days for me to get my money back. So what I'm saying is, when you get on these foreign Wi-Fis, be very careful not to log into very sensitive places like your bank account. If you're a YouTuber, your YouTube username and password, someone can hack that. And if you open yourself to this random Wi-Fi to check all your stuff, you might find yourself in a very, very bad situation. So definitely be careful, you know, hopping on these foreign, you know, Wi-Fis, and what you do check on that. So in the matter of safety, you already know to be very selective about where to go, right? You can't just stay in a random place. Watch the reviews of these hotels before you book them. Reviews don't lie. And sometimes there's a difference between the picture that people are displaying on their website and what the users, people actually stayed in that hotel, what they are showing. Some countries, Airbnbs are better than hotels. Sometimes hotels are better than Airbnbs. You just have to go based on the price, based on the neighborhood, and based on your comfort level. What I don't like about Airbnb personally, and for those of you who've been watching me, you know what happened to me in Senegal, where I booked a place and it looked absolutely nothing like what I expected, and I actually got into a verbal argument with the lady and she ended up kicking us out. Terrible experience, but that's the first time something that tragic has happened to me. Make sure that you go Google Earth. If you have the time to do this, it's not a bad idea. If you're not sure, pick the location of the hotel or whatever, put it on Google Earth and drop your pin. You can actually see what the neighborhood looks like. That's the mistake I made, and I didn't know what the area looked like. So I found myself in an area where I was stuck and there was nothing. So generally speaking, the first time in the country, I prefer to do hotels and then switch into an Airbnb when I'm more comfortable. But sometimes you don't always have to do that, you know what I mean? Some countries, the Airbnb is all set up, you can do self-check-in, you know what I'm saying, and you're good to go. The Airbnb, generally speaking, will give you more space. So compare both before you do select one. I know some people feel very strongly about one or the other, but really it depends on the country, and I'm open to both. Another thing when it comes to lodging, every country is different. In the US, you book a room, Airbnb hotel, you can have a girlfriend come over, your friends visit, is not a problem. Not every country works like that. Some countries, booking an Airbnb or a room in a hotel does not necessarily allow you to have visitors. You have to check the rules. Recently, there's a YouTuber that went to Morocco and he booked a place in the Medina, and the Medina is the heart of the city of Marrakesh. That area is where there's a lot of locals, there's big markets, there's mosques, there's all kind of stuff. So it is probably one of the most secure area that you can stay in Marrakesh. He didn't do his homework and he went over there. He booked a room and he met a girl.
I was exploring the Medina and really enjoying myself. That night I had met up with a Moroccan friend for dinner.
And after the date, he went to the room with the girl and he claims that he was just watching YouTube videos with her.
After dinner, we went back to my hotel to watch some YouTube videos. She hesitated before coming in, asking if everything was okay.
Somehow, security caught him and they found out that he was in the room with the girl, and that is not allowed. They actually have a law that if you're not married, you're not allowed to have visitors in your hotel room. In fact, the person can't even enter the hotel with you at all. Muslim countries have different rules. They're not all the same, but you have to check the rules. So this gentleman actually was caught in the room with the girl. The girl ended up, I think, being asked to leave. So he packs up his bags and he tried to go because the owner said they were going to call the cops. He didn't want to wait for the police. And he basically got into a huge argument with the owner.
Yes, you're not going to leave until the police arrive here and we will check what you got as porno videos in my place.
What are you talking about? Porno videos? Oh,
yes.
Crazy. I don't even do that.
Video.
He's not letting me leave right now.
I don't let you leave because you did something wrong in my property.
I didn't do anything wrong on your property.
You bring a young lady and you did the porno videos here.
No one did a porno video. I don't even have sex. How do you even say I'm doing a porno? Who are you making stuff up for?
The lady, she was scared yesterday. You scared her, you give her money to come here.
What, you're just making stuff up now. What?
You're not going to make money in
now you're just making stuff up. Like, you're just such a liar.
No, she's 17 years old in the room.
She's not 17.
I don't care. She's
so
she's a foreigner. I don't care. You don't have permission to bring anybody here, only in the hall.
At some point, he even checked his phone to figure out how to scream for help.
Why are you holding me against my will?
You will not go until the police come and we check the porno video you did yesterday in my room.
No, why are you making up stuff?
No.
How do I scream help in Arabic?
If you need to scream help in Arabic, you can say Musada.
Musada!
But all he had to do is to check if he's allowed to have visitors or not. Some countries, you just can't do that. It's a normal thing. You're a single guy, you travel, whatever, you want to have a girl over your spot. In most countries, it's not a problem, but in some countries it is. So don't just book a place if you know you're out there dating or you want to go to a club and be free to meet someone and bring them back to your spot. You gotta check the rules. You gotta check the rules because otherwise something really unfortunate like that happens. So the owner ended up locking him inside the building and waiting for the police. So when the police arrived, they picked him up and then they took him to the police station to get his statement because they started getting accused of, all sorts of things that he probably wasn't doing. But that's the danger you run into sometimes when you go to a country without checking the rules. You gotta check the rules. Another thing that I do, because I'm super paranoid, I have 2 checking accounts. If you can do that, make sure you get 2 checking accounts. Why? The ATM sometimes can eat your card. I was in the Czech Republic with a friend not long ago, and he put a card in the machine, and the machine swallowed his card. You know, it never came back out. We called the police, it was stuck. He had no cards. So imagine if that happens to you, you're out there and your card is taken. Yeah, you know, it sucks, you know what I mean? It really, really sucks. So I have 2 checking accounts, just in case one of my cards gets eaten up or if I get robbed or something like that, you know what I'm saying? Then I have the other one at the hotel that I can still utilize, you know what I'm saying? So it's good to always double check and triple check things when you go overseas, because you just never know, man. Anything can happen. One more thing that I want to mention, and this is for my, frequent flyers. As an American, you are entitled to 2 passports if you are a frequent flyer. Let me explain. Your passport is generally good for 10 years. Well, when you travel a lot, and because of the visa requirements, some embassies will hold on to your passport for a long time. That is the case for Ghana, for example. That's also the case for Nigeria. That's also the case for many countries out there. So if you are in a situation where you need to go someplace, but your passport is going to be on hold at this different embassy, you can actually go to the State Department and request a secondary passport. So the first passport will be good for 10 years, and the second passport will be good for 5 years. That will allow you to take that first passport, submit it to the embassy, have your visa processed, and at the same time, travel to the destination you're trying to go to. So definitely a great option if you are a frequent flyer out there. Now, let me conclude the video by saying this. There's been a movement lately, I think a trend, of people traveling overseas to find love, and they say, well, American women are not submissive, and all of these things, passport bros, all this discussion. In my experience, and again, it depends on the country, women are women. You know what I'm saying? What makes the difference is if the woman has money or not. So I know many people say, well, I love going to Africa, I like to go to this, women are like this. In some countries, being American is a flex. But it's because these locals are trying to butter you up. So don't be a fool and thinking you all of a sudden became so cool because you got on the plane and women are like matching you online, going on dates with you, you're hooking up so much more than you did in the US. And you think you're like up off. No, many times some women in some countries will be nicer to you because they hope, to go out and travel, So women with money behave the same exact way. And a lot of the issues that some people may have in the US, when they travel to another country that has money, and people also don't necessarily put you on the pedestal because you're an American, you're gonna encounter the same behaviors, the same patterns than you will if you stayed in the US. So depending on the country you go to, yes, some of the behaviors might be different, and you might find yourself more aligned with women from a different culture. It's just for me personally, in my experience, I have noticed what makes people act differently is not necessarily the country where they're from, but instead, whether or not they have money. There's a YouTuber who went to South Africa not too long ago, and he was very, very disappointed. He actually ended up cutting his trip short because he had difficulties, connecting and vibing with women in South Africa. He felt like even just saying hello to someone, they weren't necessarily going out of their way to be nice, engaging in conversations like he's currently having in Kenya. He compared Kenya to South Africa, and he loves Kenya, which, shout out to Kenya, by the way. I've never been to South Africa. I don't know how people behave there. But based on his experience, he was constantly reminded of the United States. He said that the behavior was the same. So that's what I'm saying, is that you can travel all the way to a place like that and expect people to behave differently, or women to be submissive or whatever, and you may not always get that. I've noticed where there's money, people behave the same exact way. You know what I'm saying? It's good to check your expectations and realize that, yes, you being a foreigner, especially an American in a foreign country, may not necessarily give you the points that you think you will get. Some ladies, they can care less. They have their own money, and they're not gonna be necessarily submissive to you just because you're a foreigner. That's not gonna happen. It's not necessarily the fact that you know, you live in the US, American women behave this way. I'm telling you guys, you start traveling, you go around the world, you see certain things, you see certain people, you talk and vibe. And many, many times you realize that we are basically all the same. What's different is the packaging. What you see at first might be shiny, but once you start unwrapping everything, underneath it is all the same. We live in a global village now with the internet and TV shows and music. A lot of the behaviors are starting to mirror each other. Traveling is fun. Traveling is amazing. And there's a quote that says that, you know, the world is like a book. And those who don't travel only get to read the first page. So I hope with this short video, I provided you guys some information about how to tackle your first trip overseas. And if you want to discuss this further, or if you're watching and you feel there's something valuable that someone else will benefit, please drop it in the comment below. Thank you guys for watching. Don't be stuck in one place. Travel and travel far. So guys, kindly hit that like button, subscribe, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.